Right, good day to you, grade 11. We're going to do new work today. You're going to learn to write your own procedures and functions. So let's get on it. Right, you have a program, it's a simple program, and we are going to create our own methods. Now, methods is the collective noun for procedures and functions. You get two types of methods, and that is either a procedure or a function. So we're going to write our first method. Our first method is going to change the panel of this, the color of this panel, to something else. We can change it to any color we want. Let's make it CL money green. Okay, so to write your own procedure, go to the top here, above the word procedures, all these other procedures that are here in your program, above them all you write the word procedure, and I'm going to call this change color. Simple as that. A procedure called change color. Now remember, this is just for you to get used to the idea of writing your own procedures and functions. So I'll just write the name, the word procedure, and change color. Then I highlight it and Control, Shift, and C. So what we want this procedure to do, we want it to change the color of the panel. So the panel is called panel 1 dot color equals CL money green. There we go. Now when you run the program, nothing's going to happen because we haven't actually called the procedure. All we did was write it. So I'm running the program, nothing's going to happen. When I click the button, I want to call the procedure change color. So when I click this button, I'm going to now use that procedure, and all I do to use it is to write the word, the procedure name, change color. That's it. Oops, spell it right, eh? So far we've got our own procedure here, and there it is. We wrote the code, we highlighted it, and then we did Control, Shift, and C, and then that implemented it, put it at the bottom over here. It's now got T-form 1 dot in front of it, but it's called change color, and this is what we're doing in change color. So, and then the button click, we just wrote the word change color because that's how you write, and that's how you use procedures. Just write the words. There's no equal sign. So I'm going to run the program, click the button, and see if it works now. So there it is, works. Right, very first procedure written. Now we're going to write a procedure with a parameter. Let's write procedure, another procedure that has got a string that comes into it. So I'm going to say S input colon string and close the bracket. So we have a procedure, oops, space, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just call it display, and it's going to have input coming in. This procedure is called display, and we're going to have a string coming in. So in brackets we say S input colon string. So what we want to do with this procedure, we want to display S input in the panel. So S input is coming into the procedure using this parameter list here. That's how you write it. In brackets you have something coming in and a semicolon. Now we highlight this heading, we call this the header. See where I wrote it? Control Shift C, and yeah, we've implemented it. Now we're going to take S input and put it in panel 1. So I'm going to say panel 1 dot caption equals S input. There it is. Now we've written the procedure, but basically you run the program and click the button, nothing's going to happen. We've already got the procedure called change color, that's working, but there's no input going into the panel 1. That's because in our button click event we have to go and call display. In other words, use the word display. So here's our button 1 click event. Okay, button 1 click. Now I want to display, what I'm going to do is display the contents of EDT1. That's edit 1, sorry, edit 1 is my edit box content. So Let me go and get the input from edit 1, S line, I'm going to call it. And I'll say S line equals edit 1.text. Oops. Now I must call the display procedure. Now how did I write it? I write the word display, and in brackets I have to put in a string. Can you see the nice tooltip there? It's coming up there saying I must put a string. You don't put S input there, you put S line in there. S line. So we're taking S line from the edit box, and then we go send it off to the display procedure. Display S line is now going to be called S input, and then we display S input on the panel using that display procedure. So there we've called our procedure display with a parameter. So I'm going to run the program and I'll put in some words. I like pie, or I like pizza. Click the button and there it is. So it's did the job. Okay, so that's writing a procedure with one parameter. Okay, we can have procedure with two parameters if we want. I'm going to call it procedure two things coming in. Let's say we want to add a surname to S input. We're going to add something to the string from the edit box. Right, so let's call it do it. Procedure called do it, and it's going to have two strings. What should we call it? A string called S name, and then I want to also have an integer coming into this, num. So yeah, we've got a procedure that we have declared now that's got two parameters, two things going to this procedure, a string and an integer. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to join the integer to the string and then display it at the same time. So this is just an example to show you how to write a procedure with two parameters, how to write a procedure with one parameter. So these are two parameters, a string's coming in, and then a semicolon, then an integer is also going to be used in this procedure called do it. So I'm going to highlight it, Control Shift C, and then you see the two different parameters coming in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to display, I know it's simple again doing display again, but anyway, S name, and then we're going to join the space plus int to string I num. Okay, so I num is coming into this procedure. We're using I num and we use S name. So we use S name in the procedure and we use I num in the procedure as well. So take note how we're using these parameter lists as local variables to this procedure. S name and I num. So they are being used in the procedure method, the implementation here. So this is the implementation, and up here is your header. So take note how the header must match the implementation header, except for the fact that we have tform1 dot in front of it. And we use the parameter list here, these things that are coming in, a string and an integer, we use them inside the actual procedure method, what the things that it's doing. In this case it's very simple, just adding inum to the end of S name and displaying it in the panel. Right, now we're going to go and use it. In other words, call it in our button click event. So we've called change color, we've called display S line. Now we're going to just call do it. And in brackets, I'm going to use S line here, but then I must have an integer, and I'm going to use a random number from 1 to 10. So a random number is going to be put onto the end of S line and displayed when we call do it. Now random range, obviously we must go and include the math unit here, so we can use random range 1 to 10. Take note, random range. Now we know that this is an integer, so it does match the parameter list. Remember, a string was first and then an integer, so it's very important. If you have more than one parameter, you must make sure that the data type is the same in the order that they occur. So there we've called the procedure, and now we're going to run the program. And I'm going to put in a name, Jane Doe, display. You can see it says Jane Doe 9, and now Jane Doe 8, Jane Doe 2. Each time I click the button, a different random number, because it's supposed to be a different random number each time, so that's fine. So there we have, we've written procedure that will do something. Now we're going to write a procedure, another procedure. The last type of procedure that you have to know about is called a VAR procedure. Procedure, get length. And in brackets, I'm just going to put in not S name, let's call it S something, S thing, and we are going to return a VAR parameter, rlen, length. Let's call it r length, shall we? That that r length must be declared as an integer. So now here we have a procedure that's actually going to return a value. Not just do something, but it's also going to return the value. In this case, it's going to return the length of whatever S thing is, and I'm calling it get length procedure, or let's call it display length. Okay? Display length. So you can call a procedure any name you want, but if you're going to have parameters, you have to watch out. Here we have two parameters again. You can have many parameters as you want, as long as you declare them correctly, like we did over here. Separated with a semicolon. The first parameter is a string. Then we have a semicolon, and then we have something called a VAR. That means variable. That means this parameter here, which is an integer, is going to go back to the calling statement. In other words, where we use this procedure, we're going to get our length back. It's going to have a value returned to it. At the moment, it's got no value at all. VAR length, integer. We've made that one up, and we made that up. Separated by semicolons, but a VAR means that r length can be used again by the method, by the instruction, the code that calls display. Wherever we call display length, we can use r length. Right, what is r length going to hold? We want it to have the length of the string, and because we have a VAR there, that means that r length can be calculated and given a value, whatever this length of the string is. So I'm going to highlight it, Control-Shift-C. So there we have it. So what we're going to do is simple. R length equals, see, we're giving r length, there it is there, that VAR parameter, it's got VAR in front of it, special parameter. And we had to make sure that we had colon the type, the type of what it is. R length equals length, and we know that length is a string handling method, string handling function that's built in to Delphi. So the length of S thing, R length equals length, and that's it. It's going to calculate the length and put it in this variable called R length. Length is a reserved word in Delphi, so you can't use length here, okay? And this is a string handling function. Length is a string handling function that returns the length. We're putting it into this variable that comes into this procedure, but also goes back out to the calling statement. So how do we call this procedure, display length? same as we did the others in our button click event, we're going to say display length, open brackets, S line. Take note we're using the variables here, okay? S line is going to be sent to display length, comma, but now we've got to go and put in an integer that's going to be used, whatever we want to call it. I don't want to use our length again, we're going to use it another number, our number. Okay, so our number is going here so that the parameters match up. See the parameters, display length, got a string and an integer. So our number is going to be called our length when it gets to this display length, and S line is going to be called S thing when it gets to display length. So we're calling display length using the variables that we have here. Take note you must use the variables that you have inside each of your methods. So display length, S line, comma, I number. Well, I should have called get length because I'm actually now going to display the length in the show message component. Show message int to string I number. Can you see I'm using I number here now? Because I number is going to be returned from display length. Display length is going to take S line, get the length and put it in I number, and here we are displaying it in the show message component. So let's go and do that and click the button. Let's go and put in Jane Doe again, and there it is, 8 characters. 8, the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. So now that is all the procedures that you need to know, that you will need to know and use in grade 11 and grade 12. So if you know how to do those different types, 1, 2, 3, 4, then especially this last one, it's the most difficult one, then you've got the methods for your procedures down. Now we're going to do some functions, okay? Functions. I think we'll add another button for functions. Functions are slightly different. Okay. So I'm going to write a function called add. Okay, let's write a function that's going to add 2 numbers. Function add, no wait, we call this function, let's call it caps. Function called caps. And it's going to return a string. Okay. Now, if this function called caps is going to return a string, means that we want the function to actually return a string that's got capital letters. Okay. But where's the string going to come from? Well, the function's going to make it up. That's what it's going to do. So I'm going to highlight it. When you write a function, you write the function name, colon, and whatever the function type is. The functions always return values. Yes, I know we had a procedure called display length, which returned an integer here, but that was a very special procedure. Normally we use functions to return values, and we call functions differently to the way we call procedures. You can remember here, functions, we call them on the right hand side of an assignment statement or in a richedit.lines.add statement. Procedures, we call them simply by stating the procedure name. Right, so function caps, let's see what it's going to do. We highlight it, Control Shift C, and you see there. Now if I want to, I'll say result equals, these are capital letters. Okay, so I just wanted to return this, oops, what am I doing? Okay, capital letters, there we go. These are capital letters. We're just saying result equals that. this string is going to be returned. Simple little function. That's the format of a function. You write the name, colon, what data type is, and then you say result equals. You could also say caps equals. Same thing. You can either say result equals or caps equal. Caps is the name of the function, but I don't normally use that. I normally like to use result equals. Result is a reserved word in Delphi. That means the function is now ended. Okay. Yeah. I can do something here. I can say, okay, I can have a variable here. Let's go and put a var s in, and we can say s in equals input box, and oops, enter a sentence. I'm not sentencing anyone. And then our result equals uppercase s in, uppercase s in. Alright, so you can say either result equals that or caps equals that. So there's our function called caps. How do we call it? Well, that's the interesting part. Remember I said either on the right hand side of assignment statement or in a rich editor's line statement. Assignment statement, we can have an assignment statement in a we can do it in the label or a show message. So this is the function. We finished it. As soon as you say result equals, that's the end of the function. So you can't have code underneath here. No, because result equals means you're finished, the function's finished, and it's now going to return whatever you want it to return. In this case, that's what we want to return. And yes, I had a little local variable here for the function. It's got no parameters, but let's go and call it now in our button 2 click. I'm going to say show message caps, and in brackets, that's it. Show message caps. There, I'm calling the function caps. There's no parameters. Let's run the program and click button. Oops. Input box. I forgot my input box wasn't complete. Sorry, it was such a hurry. Okay, so let's go and do it. Show message caps. Button 2. Enter a sentence. I like pizza. Okay, and there it is. Show message. Showing the function call. Okay, so this is just to describe how to write the functions and how to write the procedures. It's not showing you the usefulness of functions and procedures that you make for yourself, but I'm just describing how to write them and use them. So we can also, let's say we want to display that in the panel 1 dot caption equals caps. That's another way. Do you see that? And if we had a rich edit, let's go and quickly put a rich edit on here. Then I can say rich edit 1 dot lines dot add, and in brackets, because caps returns a string, I can safely go and put caps in there. You see that? That's the 3 ways. It's some of the ways you can call the function in a show message. In brackets, rich on dot add, lines dot add on the right hand side of the assignment statement. There's your function. It returns a string, so it safely goes into all of those components. Jane likes pizza. Okay, so click OK, and then what? Jane likes, oh, because I'm calling the function a number of times. The function's got an input box. John likes pizza. So there were 3 calls to the same function. That's why caps has got an input box statement in it. Caps function has an input box, see? Right, so it did that right. So that's our first function call that you've ever done. Now we're going to use another function but with parameters. Function add num1 on. So if you want to have variables, our parameter lists, can you see I've got two integers coming in here and the result will be an integer. So it's going to take two numbers and add them together and return the result. Simple function with two parameters. The integer the function type is an integer, colon integer. Functions have to have colon and that and a data type at the end. If you don't, then it's not a function. You've actually made a mistake. You shouldn't have used the word function there. Now this function is called add, and it's got two parameters coming in. Both of them are integers. So in order to save typing, you can do the following. You can say inum1, comma inum2, colon integer. So there's the two, and then that is the data type that's going to be returned. So this is a simple adding function, Control-Shift-C. You take these two variables here and you say result equals inum1 plus inum2. There it is. So it's going to return that. Those two variables you use inside the function, just like the procedure, use those variables inside your function implementation section, the code in there. Remember, we implemented it with Control-Shift-C, and then you say result equals. You know that's the end of that function. Now we're going to use it in our button one click, and we're going to get two random numbers that go to the function. Okay, but because the function is an integer, we have to have a variable. Let's call it I thing. My imagination is not that good right now. I thing will be equal to. Now you have to call the function on the right hand side of assignment state. Remember, like that. I thing equals, and then we're going to call the function called add. We call the function add. We know we've got to have two integers inside there. So I'm going to put two random numbers in there. And first one's going to be random range. Let's make it 1 to 5. And the second number, bracket 1, comma 6. It'll give you, and the second parameter is going to be another random number. Random range. Let's make it 12 to 27, just to be really random. Okay, so then we have two random numbers going to the function called add. And thing is now going to hold the value, whatever add is, and then we can show the message. We can put it in the rich edit. Rich edit. We have to display it once or somewhere so we can see it. Int to string thing. Okay. Thing. Now take note, you had to make an integer variable to hold the value of the function add. Why? Because the function add is an integer function. Where is it? 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 There it is. There's the function add. It's an integer function. Added the two numbers up. And in our button click event, our button to click event, sorry, we are going to put make a variable there called thing. It's going to be add equal to add the function name, and the two integers we're going to add up are going to be random numbers here. So I'll put an integer there. You've got to just make sure there's an integer in the first parameter and an integer in the second parameter. So you have to put your two things in the parameter list for the function add. If you don't have anything in parameter add, when you call add this function, then it's not going to work. Okay. Caps didn't have any parameter list. Okay, we just had a show message. Now I'm just going to comment these out because I don't want to have to type that in all the time. I'll comment that out as well. When you run this program, we're going to have a rich edit on lines.add statement where we are displaying whatever thing is. Now thing will be the result of add these two random numbers. So I'm going to run the program, click button 2, and there it is, 22. If I click it again, obviously it's going to be different numbers each time because we have 2 random numbers going into that function called add. Right, so we wrote add with 2 parameters. Now let's make a function that returns a string. Well, let's call this, wait, before we make another function, let us, button 2 click, okay? Let us go and call the same function straight into the rich edit. Rich edit 1 dot lines dot add, and in brackets, if I want to put the word add there, I want to call the function, you know, arnum1 8, 6, okay, there's 2 integers going in there. Add, I know that function add, that's going to take 2 integers and add them up. It's going to return integer, so I have to say int to string, and in brackets have my add function. That whole add function is an integer, therefore it must be converted to a string in order to display it in the rich edit. Okay, so that's an example of calling the add function using a rich edit.lines.add, and here we used an integer, and on the right hand side we put our add function. Okay, the same result's going to happen, same thing will happen. Click button 2, and basically, obviously I know we've got 2 because we had 8 and 6 is 14, but this was the random number there that we already displayed. Right, so we called a function with 2 parameters. Let's just make, for fun, let's make a function with 1 parameter. Function, I'm going to call this get length, and in brackets I'll have a string s name, or s whatever, what do you want to call it, s input, no, we already got that, s line, no, we already got that, s sentence, colon string. Now that's going to return a string. It's just got 1 parameter, and it's going to return the length of the string. Now you must remember we did the same thing with display length, didn't we? Yeah, because we had a var parameter that was returning the length of the string, but this time we're using a function to return the length of the string. It works the same, very much the same way, but it's not the same because this is a function and that's a procedure with a var parameter in it. I'm just going to highlight this, Control-Shift-C, and what's going to happen is, oh, this must be an integer, hey, so well, I made it a string, get length. So I'll have to convert the length to a string, won't I? So I have to say result equals int to string length of sCent. Take note, I'm using the parameter that comes in here, sCent. I'm calculating the length of it, but because the function is a string function, I have to say result equals length of sCent. Int to string, and then have the length of sCent. So the length is converted to a string and put into the result, and therefore this function will work because it's a string function, returns a string, and we've done it correctly. We've converted the length of the parameter called sCent, we converted it to a string. So let's go and call it, use it in other words, in our button click event. Right, so what we're going to have now is rich edit, but we have to have a string, don't we? So I'm going to make a variable called sLine, and let's use an input box. This is in our button click event, and line. And now we're going to call the function, what's it called? It's called get length, and it's got to have a string. Now, because it's a function, it must be on the right hand side of an assignment statement, okay? And I want to display, let's say I'm going to display it in the panel 1. So I'm going to say panel 1 dot caption equals get length, and in brackets put in sLine. Now How do I know to put it in brackets? Well, once you write the function or the procedure name and then you open brackets, you'll see there's a string. Tooltips tell you that I must go and put a string in there, and the only string I've got here is s line, so I'm putting s in line in here. It's going to go off to get length, the function called get length, which is here. When it gets to get length, it's called sent. This function is now going to get the length of sent converted to a string, and then the result of get length is going to be a string, and it's going to come back here. Get length will be a string, and it's going to be inserted into the caption of the panel. So let's click the button. Dog named Spot. Okay, that's not a real sentence, but anyway, there's 16 characters in that sentence. Right, so that is your introduction to functions and procedures. In fact, everything that you need to know about functions and procedures, and we'll go through it slowly in the days to come with different activities. So, enjoy your day.